So what is going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of the What's Your Hustle podcast. I have Tyler with me. He is co-owner of the DRIPBaR Winchester. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
You know what?
So I'm the co-owner of DRIPBaR Winchester. Me and my business partner, Philip, we went in on it. We have a background in healthcare. We both are mid-levels. We work in radiology. Our wives are nurses as well. So we've been doing that for over 10 years, and we're real passionate about health and wellness. So just the current climate and the way healthcare is today, we see that there's a big gap in that preventative care.
Sure.
So we wanted to kind of go out on our own and do something to support clients, support people in that wellness journey, whether that be whatever goal they're looking for. So we looked at different franchises in that health and wellness space, and we came across the DRIPBaR. It's a nationwide franchise. It was kind of one of the top tier ones as far as IV vitamin therapy goes. So we took the leap and bought into it. So
yeah, and it's been about a year, a little less than that.
A little less than that, yeah.
Okay.
We'll be open a year in March.
Okay,
so
we're right around the corner.
Yeah,
we're almost there.
Yeah, it's happened fast.
Just got to get through Christmas. And,
yeah, the holidays.
Yeah. No, that's so. It sounds like you're kind of that. I don't want to say middleman because that's kind of like a handoff thing. You're kind of the preventative care, trying to keep people healthy before they kind of hit that.
Yeah. So we talk about healthcare. It's a lot of sick care. So it's after the fact. That's a good
way to put it.
Yeah. So it's that sick care. So people come in, by that time, chronic disease is kind of taken over, and they're kind of in that tail end of things, and we're just trying to manage symptoms and do what we can for them. And this is more along the lines of preventative. So, just want to make make the clients feel better day to day, with vitamin therapy, hydration, things like that. So it's just, just something we wanted to offer to the community and to our clients. So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's definitely, that's something that, I don't think a lot of people realize is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we've worked a little bit in the past, when we first kind of got connected, it was like a what? A drip what?
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Kind
of going over it, and he's at the website and everything. I was like, all right, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's different. So give me a little bit about the benefits of going through an IV drip compared to me just going to get my Flintstone vitamin and taking it that way.
Yeah. So it's probably one of the biggest questions we have.
Sure.
People call and are like, hey, why can't I just take I take a multivitamin? Why do I need IV therapy? So it's all about the absorption. And that's what it boils down to. So when someone takes an oral medication or a vitamin, you swallow, it goes down into your stomach, and then the different absorption, between the gut, some people just don't absorb things like they should. Sometimes you're not even, about 30% of what you're actually absorbing when you take it orally. Whereas when you give it through an IV, the absorption rate can be anywhere between 90 and 100%. So you're getting those more effectively into the system.
Is it quicker?
Yeah.
Is it like a quicker response?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, if you're dehydrated, drinking a bottle of water, right? Yeah. A nice bottle of water, it'll sort of get the job done.
Yeah.
You can't rapidly, drink a bunch of water. But if you were to go to the hospital and get an IV to be rehydrated, it hits quicker. It's a little bit stronger. So the same concept.
Yeah. Same concept. Yeah. It's going to be delivered faster, more effectively, and you absorb more of it. So just the benefits from the vitamins that you're getting from. So whether you're getting, vitamin C, if you're getting magnesium, folic acid, all those things, which are crucial and beneficial for a lot of people, vitamin D, things like that. When you take it orally, you're not getting the full benefit of it.
Okay.
Whereas with the IV vitamin therapy, like I said, 90 to, up to 100% absorption just from that one drip. So, yeah.
That's bang for your buck.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
No, so you've always been in healthcare. Healthcare is okay. Let me kind of rephrase that.
Yeah.
When you were a wee little lad, you've always wanted to be in healthcare. Was that something that always kind of stayed top of mind, or you kind of grew into it?
Yeah, my family, we have a background in healthcare.
Okay.
My mom was in healthcare. And so when I graduated, she kind of pushed me into the healthcare realm. And when I got out, I was completely clueless about radiology. I thought doctors and nurses are the only thing that worked at hospitals. So my mom worked at the lab, so she let me kind of job shadow in Berkeley Medical. I followed around some CT techs and X-ray techs, and I was like, well, this is pretty cool. So I applied, got in, and then just kind of worked my way up through, did X-ray, ultrasound, and then ended up going through the mid-level program to do that in radiology. So, yeah.
So really, you had a feel of photography and a little bit of videography way before coming on a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing that I really liked about radiology was kind of the creativeness behind it.
Yeah.
Obviously the patient care aspect of things, but then also, with X-ray, you could adjust your technique, to make a better image. You could collimate, so it had that technical aspect as well as the healthcare, taking care of people aspect. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So yeah.
And then it just kind of blossomed into working in healthcare, and there's not a lot of people that are kind of doing the preventative. There, you can go to the gym.
Yeah.
You can, eat, have your diets and everything preventative, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is just that extra step or that another step that you can take to kind of kickstart all of that. Yeah. It's a horrible analogy talking about diet and eating health, but it's like one big piece of pie, right? Yeah. You have your different pieces and different slices, but it all kind of works towards the same thing.
Yeah.
So when was it that you were like, I really want to go this route? And how did that kind of blossom?
Yeah. I think when you work in healthcare for that long, obviously you want to help people. That's the number one goal. And, I just day in and day out, I was seeing these patients that I felt like if someone could have got to them earlier and, whether it be, the IV vitamin therapy, exercise, diet, things like that.
Or just knowledge in general.
Yeah. We could have changed their trajectory and they wouldn't be sitting in a hospital bed looking at me scared to death because they're not sure where their health is going to go. So, I'm an avid CrossFit and I exercise, diet, nutrition. I'm a real big proponent of that. And then I wanted to look for other avenues that were in my wheelhouse, healthcare, that I could support people from the preventative side of things. So I stumbled across these IV, I've heard of them, and, just in the past couple of years, but a lot of people were like, hey, this is a Vegas thing. You go out, you have a good time, and then you get an IV and get feeling better. But then when we came across this franchise and saw their kind of comprehensive menu and had everything from, if you've had a crazy Friday night and you want some restoration, we can do that for you. But also for the athlete, someone that's running a marathon the next day.
Well, we also talked about you have one for if you're about to travel, things you don't even think about that you're like, hold on, there's something that can help boost, my immune system and especially traveling is a big one for immune system. I mean, getting stuck on a plane.
I think that's what's been really cool is hearing the success stories from our clients. We have everybody from, like I said, the athletes. I have people I go to the gym with that have come and they do their drips before a big race or a competition. But then we have some that come and they have autoimmune issues. And, before IV therapy, they could hardly function. And they come in and they get their drip and they can actually do normal daily activities because of the drip.
It's got to be awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to hear. Awesome. We have people that come in and they have certain ailments, and some of our drips contain certain antioxidants, almost like supercharged antioxidants, and their ailments are clearing up because of it. So it's cool to see. So
no, that is, and so I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit because you have a big background in healthcare. Mm-hmm. Where did the entrepreneurship kind of come in? Was it something that you're like the first of the family? Has it kind of been there?
Yeah. So I am the first in the family to take the jump and start a business. My mom was nervous for me just because my mom,
rightfully so.
Yeah, she's
as mom should be.
My mom is very much that the old school, go to work every day, do your 40, 50 years, and then right off in the sunset with your 401k. So I just I'm an avid reader, and I
podcasts.
I listen to podcasts. That freedom to do your own thing and to bring value to the world on your own terms is something that's really been a drive for me. Yeah. We can go out and betting on myself, I think is the biggest thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. Like when you have confidence in your ability and your hard work and know that you have something to offer, I think that was the drive behind it. And now I've done it, and it's been a great experience. It's definitely an emotional roller coaster, a lot of ups and downs.
I can second that. Yeah.
But you just kind of stay the course, and you always have to have that strong why you're doing it, whether it be your family, the financial freedom you want from it, or like I said, to change people's lives, and it's yours, you built it. And that's kind of where that came from. So.
Yeah, no, it's a good, the why is definitely through good times and bad.
Yeah.
The why is definitely something to lean on.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Sometimes you ask it in a sarcastic way in your head.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Exactly. Yeah.
But it really kind of helps motivate.
Yeah.
Intrinsic motivation is a big one.
Yeah.
So the DRIPBaR, you said it was a franchise. So instead of kind of going fully, I don't want to say full entrepreneur, but it sounds a little negative.
Yeah.
You went a route that's a little less traditional when you hear entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That's franchising.
Yeah.
What drew you towards that? What was something that was like, oh yeah, this is the right route?
Yeah. I think the complexity of the business itself, healthcare is very regulated, and even in the IV vitamin space, to find a medical director, to find someone to oversee everything, the hiring process, it was just a lot involved into it. And it's one of those things that we felt comfortable buying into something that already, a franchise already has a playbook. They essentially hand it to you and say, hey, if you follow these guidelines, this is the step-by-step. You can open this up and you can have a business. So
starting point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you still have to run the business.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh yeah, we're going to come in and you get to collect the check at the end of the month. No, you still have to do the things.
Yeah. So, I mean, you definitely get that entrepreneurship because we do have the freedom to kind of make changes and make calls that we, because it's our business.
Yeah.
But you have the franchise support backing you as far as, how to hire and how to do these things and, there's processes in place already. What to look for. They are like, we already have a nationwide, national medical director that you buy into it. He will oversee all your protocols, write everything for you, and now they've recently came out. We have one medical director for just the state of Virginia. She oversees all the DRIPBaRs in Virginia. So it's very uniform. And another thing with the franchise that not other IV places have is the sterile compounding hood that we have. So we have to compound all of our drips in a sterile hood, just like you would at like an Olympia or another compounding pharmacy. So as far as safety goes,
it's clean.
Yeah, it's clean. Yeah, it's not that, other, what were considered a medical spa, mom and pop, that they can't do it. But I just felt that this was the way to go for our first venture.
So you knew that you wanted to get into entrepreneurship and you knew this was the field. How do you, there's not Zillow ads for starting a franchise. I don't think there is.
No.
So you just started researching and you were like, hey, this is the direction I want to go. What's out there?
Yeah.
And DRIPBaR kind of came up.
Yeah. Cause I looked at wellness, health and wellness avenues, and there's tons out there. If you want to open up a juice bar to a stretch lab to, there's all these different things. And again, I wanted something that combined my healthcare background with that health and wellness preventative part. So I talked to my business partner, who again is in the same field as I am in healthcare. And I was like, hey, we should look into this. And jokingly, in my full-time role, I joked around with some of my physicians. I said, hey, we should just start offering IV bags. Just let patients come in and charge them for the IV bag. And they kind of laughed it off. And I was like, that's a good idea. So,
hold on a second. I'm on to something.
So we did some research. There was 2 franchises that we looked at. We went and visited 2 locations. The one franchise was in Virginia Beach. We took a Saturday. Me and my business partner drove down, looked at that, saw their process, saw their location. And then we went to Charlottesville, which is where that was the first store that opened in Virginia for the DRIPBaR. So we went down there, met with the owner there, saw the process, saw the hood, and we were driving back, and I was like, I think this is the one. So, yeah.
Did you visit others, or was it like, hey, this was the first one you stopped at and was like, yeah, this is it?
Yeah. So we saw the one franchise in Virginia Beach, not the DRIPBaR, was kind of the other big player in the IV vitamin space.
Sure.
And then the DRIPBaR. So we saw the one in Charlottesville and was like, we ran some numbers and was like, hey, I think this is a great idea. And it's one of those things I think in the metropolitan areas, the cities, like it's already a thing. Now you go, I know there's other franchisees, Manhattan and Huntington Beach, California, and we have owner calls with other franchises, and they talk about how you can't go 2 blocks without an IV place being there. So they have a lot more competition. So I told my business partner, he's like, are we too rural for something like this? And I said, my fear is 2-3 years from now, when we turn around and there's one of these everywhere, we're going to be, kicking ourselves.
Yeah.
So I said, let's get ahead of it. It's growing. Frederick County is rapidly growing, and that Northern Virginia is coming this way. And we've had numerous clients come to us and say, hey, I had no idea you're here. This is so awesome. We lived in Nashville. We lived here and we used to go to these places all the time. And I had no idea there's one of these in Winchester. So I think we made the right choice. So
I would say so. You guys, there's a lot of people that you come up and I've seen, you've talked with a couple different people. It's definitely, you're doing the right thing as far as getting everything, getting the name out, getting established in the area. And I mean, it's definitely one of those, it goes hand in hand with so many, I mean, there's gyms all over the place. I would only imagine that you're getting and trying to strategically get in with some of the gyms in the area and just get it top of mind of people. Cause I think the biggest thing, and it's kind of, I think we talked about it when we first started a couple months ago with content is, just getting the information out there, getting the idea out there so people can understand like what it is, what you do, and the convenience, well, also the benefits of it from a health standpoint. Yeah. And it's just like I said, kind of at the beginning, I was like, I don't know what a drip bar is, but now I'm like, holy smokes, like this is something that is, it's coming around. Yeah. I think the idea and just everyone that I've talked to that has mentioned it, they're like, it's a great idea. We love it. There's a couple people that I know that are in there frequently. Yeah. And it's like, it's a good idea. And the benefits are good, right? Of helping people and answering that why question that a lot of entrepreneurs have. So it's good.
I think education is a huge part of it. It's still, as an entrepreneur, getting your name out there and try to educate, you feel like that's all you're doing is like putting out content and trying to educate. And it never ceases to amaze me. Someone comes along and says, I had no idea. Or I thought you were a bar. I thought I'd get a drink there, or, I thought you were only for hangovers, and just trying to educate that we're more than that. But, to your point, the gyms and all this, that's another good thing about our space is we can appeal to so many different avenues. So whether you're the gym goer, or you're just the person that, a teacher that is around sick kids all the time and you want to boost your immunity, come to us. We have a shield drip that boosts your immunity with, vitamin C and things like that to prevent you from getting sick. And then we have one for after you're sick to come and help, hydrate people with chronic conditions such as POTS, where they need to stay hydrated all the time. So we can appeal to a lot of other, venues that way. And then in the summer, I had this kind of bright idea from a person I worked with. Her husband's a plumber. And she said he's in crawl spaces all the time. He had to go to the ER recently just because he needed fluids. So we had this idea, we could almost cater to other businesses, other home service businesses, and say, hey, like if you want to have a corporate membership with us where you could pay so much and you could send your laborers, your employees to us, and almost as a perk, for if they're sick or before they get sick, or they're on the job site all day on a roof and they've been sweating and they're dehydrated, send them to us, so
and they get they get the benefits of a drip.
Yeah. So that kind of that B2B kind of, relationship.
That's very smart. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to talk after this about how I can get the hustle employees on the benefit, the corporate account.
Membership. Yeah. Let me know.
No, that's awesome. And it's smart. That's it's a interesting way of kind of how to reposition. That's the biggest thing with entrepreneurship is you're always trying to come up with the new thing, right? Stuff that's working is great, but you're always trying to innovate. You're always trying to be better. How can we get better? How can we get better? And that's a very go to the businesses, and then from there, they're talking to, their employees and then their families. And it's a kind of spider web effect.
Yeah. I think that's, as far as entrepreneurship goes, that's the fun part as well. I mean, it's stressful, but there's been times in this journey, the short journey that it's been, there's been times where you're like, where do we go from here? And you're like, I'm out of ideas. And then something will come up. And I've really tried to devote some, creator time or just some creativity time in my calendar just to sit down and, think about things. And, it's crazy. These ideas that just pop in your head. And I have the space in my phone where I just open my phone and I just, it's like a brain dump. I just got to get it out.
Yeah.
Because I'll either forget about it or, I'll be like, what was I thinking about? And, it's just this random notes, and it can be anything from, how can we better serve our clients to how do we get out in the community more? And another thing I've learned is listen to your clients. We try to make a point, like if there's any way that we can better the experience for the people that have been in our space, let us know, because people will tell you. And I think that's the way that you can always be improving and bettering yourself and your business is, what are your clients telling you? And they've made some great suggestions. And I was like, that's a great idea. And it can be anything from simple as, hey, I'd like to have a hook in our recovery room. Or, if you offered a different package with more time in our recovery room, I would pay for it. Okay, that's a great idea. And this thing
you have the flexibility of doing that. Yeah.
So definitely listening to your clients is a great way to grow and to change and to get better. So
well, and they'll definitely be the ones to let you know if something's working or not. Good or bad.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I tell a lot of people that that we work with is like, be honest. Don't come at me too hard, but definitely be honest and let me know what needs to be improved, what needs to be better, what needs work on, or what do you love? I used to work in customer service, and the number one call that I remember to this day is this guy picked up the phone. He's like, hey, I'm just letting you know the cabinets are great. And I was like, no issues? He's like, nope, no issues. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, everything's great. I'm just calling to let you know everything's great.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I just stay on the phone with you for like 5 more minutes? I don't have to deal with people yelling at me anymore.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. But it was one of those where it was like, sometimes that reassurance, like, okay, cool. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's something that needs to be adjusted or anything, adjust it.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's a hard perspective or a hard mindset to get into.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I'm guilty sometimes. I think I'm like, oh, this is great. Nothing's wrong. This is perfect. I love it. But as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, you sometimes get those blinders on where you kind of get, the everything's good. Yeah. I don't want to see all the issues. So sometimes you need that other, outside perspective, like, hey, have you ever thought about this?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's definitely, sometimes you got to have a humility and bring it back a little bit, because you can be so dead set on an idea and say, man, this is going to kill it. This is going to be great. And then it doesn't work out. Take a step back. And, your support system, the team that you've built, rely heavily on them. And I think that's something that's really exciting as well, is as an entrepreneur, was when you have people in place, you hire people, and then you're empowering them to take on projects and do projects and see them succeed. And you're kind of in the background. I think that's really cool. That's really amazing. Yeah. So I've learned it's better not to be a micromanager. Like, you can tell people to do whatever you want. Like, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this. I'm slowly learning that give them the goal and the objective of where we're going. Hey, I want this goal to be met, and then empower them to figure out how they want to get there. And then let them have skin in the game and take some ownership and say, hey, like, I think this would be really, really great. I think we could do this and this and this and would work really well. And from an entrepreneur, you can step in and be like, yeah, that's great. Maybe we could do this and this, maybe tweak it a little bit, but still give them skin in the game ownership. And then people seem to, perform really well when they feel like they've came up with the idea to make it work. So
they own a piece of it, right? They have a little bit more skin in the game, not in a bad way where it's a gamble on their part. Because I've had conversations where I'm like, I love the idea. I love it, but you got to own it. Yeah. Just one from a capacity standpoint, but then also like I see the drive and I see the drive in them and that they love the idea that it's something that they really want to do. Yeah. Well, I don't want to get in the way of that. Let that keep brewing. Yeah. Let that keep moving and really kind of hone in. And obviously I'll support whatever I can and do whatever I can, but it's one of those where like, it's a little back and forth, capacity. And then also like, I want people around me that are excited to be here, be a part of the team. Yeah. Like if you want to go that road, that's fine. Obviously you want to make sure it's a smart decision. It's not too drastic or crazy. Yeah. But who am I to squash anybody's ideas? See what happens. Yeah. Worst case, I've had plenty of them that I'm like, probably shouldn't have done that one. But like, let's see where it goes. Yeah.
I saw, I don't know if it was on a podcast, maybe recently, but it was an entrepreneur, business owner. And he said a lot of business owners are afraid to hire people that are better than them, because they like to be, the top dog. Like, I have all the great ideas and I'm but I think it's great to hire and have people that surround you that are better, smarter than you and know things more than you. That kind of excites me is to put people in the place and then see them flourish. So
I'm interested because I can hear a group of people outside the door. I want to open the door and be like, excuse me, what is going on out here? There's a reason why we picked the third floor away from everybody.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Yeah, no, it's fine. They're probably excited. I don't know.
Yeah.
The parade's going on. So somebody's probably,
Christmas parade.
let's go up to the third floor. It's probably warm up there.
Yeah, trying to get out of the cold.
So the entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on something I wanted to get into a little bit. Because you have running the business, right? The drips and making sure everything's smooth, working with the franchise. But then you also manage people. Is people managing or people being a people manager something you saw yourself doing? Or is that like, holy smokes, this is a part of it that I didn't even take into consideration?
You know, obviously getting into entrepreneurship, I knew that was going to have to be a role. It still kind of shell shocks me sometimes when people, you know, refer to me as sir, or, you know, I kind of pinch myself where I'm like, I own a business. I employ people. People depend on me for salaries and things like that. So me and my wife laugh all the time. You know, we do interviews and stuff. We're trying to put up this profession. Yeah. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you know, who gave me a business? So, but it's definitely a fun aspect. You know, we've had our issues, and there's some people you just don't jive with, and you've had to make some tough calls. And we've been very fortunate that we've hired some great people right off the get-go, right from the beginning. And so that aspect of things has been great so far. But I always try to put myself, you know, I think having a full-time job and being in that role as an employee, it's enabled me to, anytime I feel like I'm micromanaging or overstepping my bounds, I try to take a step back and, you know, think to myself, how do I feel, or what are the things I don't like as an employee? And I never want to be that for anybody that I hire or employ. So, you know, giving them the respect and then empower them to take on projects and do things. And again, another thing I read is when you're with your employees, ask them what their 5-year goal is. And it's one of the questions we ask when we interview, because you have to make sure that your goals and your dreams as a business owner is big enough to hold their dreams and aspirations as well. You know, and, you know, I always, again, I read something where there's always that concern. You hire somebody, you train them, and they get so good they leave, you know, but I think as a business owner, like you would want that.
You can't get mad at that.
Yeah.
And you can't get mad at it.
And you'd want that. You know, you'd want that for your employees. You want to hire people like that have that drive. And
because the time that they're there,
Yeah.
they're giving it their all. They're taking in the information.
Exactly.
You're getting, it's like an investment, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of do something similar. I have 1 or 2 people. We're not this crazy, huge, you know, production team. Not yet. But, you know, with the one person that we have that is, I would call them full time. We had a conversation like, look, what are your goals?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? We just recently had somebody that was interested in doing sort of like an doing like an apprenticeship type. And that was, you know, same thing. Well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And partially is, do you see yourself kind of venturing off and starting your own business? Do you like to just grow within this business? Like, and it doesn't have to be us, but like, you know, are you going to go over to another, you know, what's the goal? And, you know, sometimes the answer is the answer and you just kind of work with it. Like, and you take into consideration, okay, well, you know, that's a couple years down the road or even a couple months. What can we do in those couple months or those couple years that help me help you, right? And help you help me, right? Money is great, but how can we help each other?
Yeah,
you know, and that's kind of like the networking and growing and what can you bring to the table? And it's an interesting development. And I think a lot of the larger corporations, the huge companies, you know, the Valley Healths and all this, they are more of just like, hey, we're going to fill the spot. When that person leaves, we'll just find that next person. When you have those smaller businesses, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit tougher decision. It's definitely one you got to think about a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm super appreciative of everybody that we've brought on, good and bad, because they've all been a part of our journey as entrepreneurs. So I couldn't have done it alone. I couldn't, you know, I'm not in the space. I have my full-time job. So I have to rely on people that are in the space and working. So, you know, I'm super appreciative. I mean, I think that's, you know, as an entrepreneur in a small business, having that close, tight-knit community of, I know my employees on an individual basis. I know when they have issues with, with families and things like that. And I reach out to them individually via text and say, hey, thank you for the job you did today. Because I can look at the numbers and I see how things were and the reviews that come in from our clients. And, there's that personal touch. And yeah, like you said, with those bigger corporations, just the size, it's not able to do that. And
yeah, and it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Those big companies, they sometimes do things, and I'm not speaking of like, I still have my full-time job with a big company.
Yeah.
It's one of those where I think you have your 9-to-5ers,
Mm-hmm.
you have your entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have your 9-to-5 and entrepreneurs that we
Yeah.
kind of fall into like a little interesting category
Yeah.
of and don't get me wrong, I love the company that I work for.
Absolutely.
That's why that I'm still with them. I like what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sometimes things happen where you're like, man, and I almost catch myself like putting the business owner hat on and being like, I don't know if I would have done it that way.
Yeah.
But my role was not that in that building.
Yeah.
And I'm very appreciative of everything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were talking before we started recording, great stuff,
Yeah.
As far as obviously pay and all
Mm-hmm.
the perks and benefits of being with the 9-to-5 company. But I kind of felt that same thing, that
Mm-hmm.
why
Mm-hmm.
kind of drove me a little bit more to do something like this, not directly in the healthcare, but I see it as if I can help businesses get their word out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not directly, helping them in their business. I guess I am, but I'm not, the one running the drip in your case, but I'm helping you get it out there to hopefully, get it into the ears of the right people. And
No, yeah. I mean, I think, I love my full-time job, and I'm super appreciative of what they've allowed me to do and provide for my family and things like that. But definitely the entrepreneur avenue has allowed me to, grow as a person, expand who I am, and then do things a little differently. It's kind of like when you're growing up and, you're raised by your parents, and, as you get older, you think to yourself, when I have kids, I'm gonna do things a little differently. It's kind of the similar thing with a business. Whereas, you take the good and the bad with what I've had in my career, and then I'm trying to just do things a little differently and how I want to do it. And
knowledge.
yeah, and
it's a good analogy.
Create something of my own. This is kind of the entrepreneur, kind of that positive to things, is you can take things you like, things you don't like, and then put your own spin on it.
That's well said. So I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into the entrepreneurship side. Just from we might have already answered it, but what were some of the, like, when you initially started getting the business kind of going, picking the spot, all the business side stuff was there. What was kind of like that, oh snap moment of like, okay, this was not as smooth as I thought it was going to go? Was it location? Was it staffing? Was it just
all the above? Maybe.
Yeah.
So, we had a little snafu with our first location. So initially we were going to be over by Tropical Smoothie, Dick's Sporting Goods.
Okay.
It used to be a pet store. That was the initial.
Yeah.
It was like pet store. There was like a pizza place, and then there was this huge pet store that was vacated. And we were like, this is a good location. It's big enough. And, we were in the process of signing the lease, and the franchise told us, well, hey, before you sign the lease, like, let's go ahead and get a jump, get the architect in there to go ahead and map out the space so we can go ahead and get your drawings. That way, when you go to your contractor, they can go ahead and get the jump on it. So we ended up paying the down payment for the architect to fly up from Florida to take a look at the space, because we thought this was a done deal. We kind of signed like an initial agreement, but we had to sign the official lease agreement. They came up, paid the deposit, all this. Well, then the landlord came back and was not happy with the brokerage that was representing them. So she said, I will not sign the lease. And we were like, well, what do you mean? Like, we kind of already put a down payment on. We've got drawings that are going to be drawn up for this. And she refused. She said she did not want to pay the commission to the broker. So she refused to, so she killed the deal right off the bat.
Really?
And so me and my business partner were like, well, now what do we do? So, one little hookup there. But yeah. And so
It looks like you guys kind of bounced back and
we bounced back.
found a space
That's
way better than that space anyway.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, when we were initially looking at spaces, I always liked that area. Just I thought it was a good area, good foot traffic. Similar, the Orange Theory Fitness and now the Pilates place that went in. I just thought it was a great little area there. So
yeah, and just to kind of paint a word picture, obviously we're going to put all of your information down below, and everybody will be able to find you.
Sure.
But this is off of right near Martin's.
Yes, we're South Pleasant Valley, so we're right across from Hobby Lobby. We're right beside Carter's. There's the Club Pilates, AT&T store, Orange Theory Fitness, and the Martins right there on Pleasant Valley.
Right there in that shopping center.
And
if you don't know where to go,
there you go.
We'll put the address somewhere.
So I think it was a blessing in disguise. Granted, we lost out the deposit because we had to pretty much scratch that initial drawing from the architect.
Just have to redo everything.
And then the process of getting the lease and everything, and then with the financing for our SBA is how we funded. We had our initial equity injection, but the SBA was the main funder. They need a signed upon lease agreement before they even distribute funds, so it kind of backlogged everything. So it was just like, wow, okay, well here we go. But
and all over, and I mean, I guess I don't know. My thought is, and this is where my sarcastic comes in, is commission is 0% is 0%.
Yeah. Well,
but I guess,
and to my knowledge, I think the space is still vacant. So, my thought is if you're a landlord,
don't you want people in there?
You're paying rent. The only thing I can think of is maybe the landlord they own it and they don't care if there's anybody in it or not. But I mean, we were on the hook and we were willing to proceed.
Business and making money.
Yeah. So, and I think like I said, I think it was a blessing in disguise. It worked out better.
Hey guys, I really hope you're enjoying this episode. I just wanted to quickly stop in and say that this podcast is brought to you by the Hustle Podcast Studio. We're located in Winchester, Virginia, and we're a full service studio for podcasting, YouTube channels, short form and long form content. We're the place you need to be. We now have 6 different bays that you can choose from. Book a time, come in with a tech to run everything behind the scenes so you can start filming content as early as next week. If you're interested, check the description below for more information. Reach out to me directly on social media and we can help you get started. Now, let's jump back to the episode. I think you're in a good spot. I mean, I've been there a couple of times. I think it's right there. Like you said, you have a couple businesses around you that kind of fall into the wheelhouse of nutrition. I think it's a good, awesome location. I like the interior. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but the video I did shoot for you guys, the DRIPBaR shot, that's like the panning left to right. That's in like all of my portfolio stuff. Like it's one of those. I was like, that's one of my favorite shots that I've captured so far.
No, it's the franchise. I think definitely did a good job. I knew it was going to be good. Is when I walked in for the first time after the drywall was up, paint was up. Our initial, the graphics people came in and put the Feel Your Cells, Feel Your Life, the DRIPBaR, and very modern, very clean. I was like, this is cool. Like, it's almost like not something you're expecting when you walk in. And I was like, okay, this is. Yeah,
you kind of have that like trendy LED vibe. It's good. I think it's great. And then also it's clean.
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm just like, that's some of my favorite stuff that I've shot. And it's interesting I've talked with a couple different entrepreneurs. Some have started from the ground up. Some have kind of bought into businesses. I think you're kind of officially the first like franchisee style. And it's a whole different mindset. It's still entrepreneurship within it, every way you look at it. But I mean, like, I'm not thinking about flying up contractors to look at stuff. And so how do you balance something like that? You have a full-time job. You have a couple kiddos. Family, the whole thing. What is, you don't have to give me all the secrets, but what is something that you're like, this is kind of how I've.
Time management is huge. I'm an early riser. So I like to get up. I like to get my workouts in. Movement for me is important. And then, staying grounded. I think kids keep you grounded, but they also help with the getting up early thing. Setting small obtainable goals. I think if you get really caught up in, man, I have to open up this franchise in, 3-6 months, this huge franchise, look at the big picture. you're going to drive yourself crazy, and you're going to get down, and it's going to be an impossible feat. But if you little things at a time, what's the saying? You can't eat an elephant whole. You get bite by bite. So
how do you eat
I
elephant?
so I would just have critical tasks, and this is what I'm going to do. So today I need to get up. I need to finalize the SBA paperwork. I've got to, we got to take care of the architect and this. So I give myself 2 or 3 things where like, this is going to move the needle, and this is where, I need to go. And even now that we're open, there's still things that come up, and like I said, you'll drive yourself crazy. You can always find something to do. And if you're trying to run around, and anybody can look busy, but there's a difference between looking busy and being productive. So if I can get a lot done in an hour before the kiddos get up, and I have that quiet time to myself, and I can knock out some work on my laptop, that 1 hour of really good focused time is better than 4 hours of like trying
TikTok.
to, like sitting there trying to like play with the kids, but then also like trying to do some things for DRIPBaR and doing this and this. And I'm not really getting anything done. I'm not devoting time to the kids. I'm not really devoting time to the business. So I would say that has been a huge, huge help for me. So, and then also from an entrepreneur standpoint, it is true. It's just having that grit. And I always remind myself that the next decision could be your breakthrough. And when there was things that came up and like, man, how are we going to get through this? Or what are we going to do? I learned that a lot of times just asking the right questions and finding the right people. And it's been times where, what are we going to do this, and this? And I reach out to somebody and they're like, oh, email this person. Next thing you know, problem solved. So just having that drive and just continue to move forward. And like I said, just trying to just keep getting it done. And if you come across something hard and difficult, and the worst thing you can do is throw your hands up and say, I can't do it. I'm done. Just kind of keep pushing forward. So
yeah, no, sometimes it's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You just got to say, hey, whether I like it or not, I got to get this done.
Yeah.
I very similar.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting when you're not only balancing a family,
mm-hmm.
a business, and also a full-time job.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like, I just need 5 minutes to turn my brain off.
Oh yeah.
But in that 5 minutes in the back of my brain, I'm like, I could be doing something productive right now.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely, it's a different area to kind of work from.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the time management is a very good schedule is my best friend. Yeah. I mean, even today, just with all the different things running, to OB appointments and back and this, and it's just like, if I didn't have little pop-up reminders come up, it's definitely one of those where I'm like, I probably forget something.
Yeah.
But to kind of play off that a little bit, I think when you set that schedule, when you stick to it, that's the biggest part is what I've learned. And if I'm allotting time for a certain activity or doing a certain thing, do it. Yeah. Put the phone down and get it done, because that will feel so much more kind of like, that 1 hour, you get so much done. You're very productive. I'll take that over 4 hours of not doing whatever and every day of the week. Yeah. Because overall you'll get more done.
Yeah. With my wife, Emily, it's been huge that we've had, usually on Sunday nights, when the kids, we put them to bed, we kind of have a weekly meeting. Kind of what does our week look like? With 4 kids, we have practices to go to. We have things here, and kind of, what do you need from me? This is what I need from you. I'm doing a podcast on Monday night. She's got, she's going to do a workout. She wants to go to the gym tomorrow night. That's her thing. So just having that communication and knowing where we need each other, and then what we need to accomplish this week has been really beneficial. And to your point with the calendar, allocating and almost like budgeting my time has been super beneficial.
That's a very good word to kind of associate with time. I think a lot of people think budget and they're like, oh, money. No. Budget, you have X amount of hours in a day. Yeah. Hopefully a lot of that's going towards sleep and family. But the time that you're really able to do stuff, you only have a limited amount of time per day. Yep. So budget it and act like it's scarce. Like when I have this time, I need to take advantage of it. Yeah. That's the one thing in the past year I think I've learned the most, because we've really upscaled and kind of taken off a little bit, which is good. Yeah. It's always good. That's what you want in business. Always good. Yeah. But it really, kind of, you mentioned it was like that you can look busy or you can be productive. Yeah. starting out, it was like, I kind of feel like I'm a little busy right now. Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah.
New business. But then you're like, you get into the thick of it and you're like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I have some stuff I need to get done.
Yeah.
But I think starting those habits early,
Mhm.
I say it with a lot with businesses that reach out for like content. What do I need to do stay consistent, act like you have a lot going on, make it look busy, kind of really whenever you have gigs. There was somebody I was just talking to last week, right before Thanksgiving. They were interested about, I'm not plugging the business. I'm just talking about the conversation, renting out the podcast space for any podcast. But it was one of those where they're like, I want to do this. And I was like, I think the biggest thing is you need to make your business look busy. The fear of missing out does wonders, right? So when you're going to these events, when you're a part of these things, put it on social media, get out there, be top of mind. And I think that is definitely one of those where, kind of bringing it back to what we were talking about, as a business, when you have a meeting or you have something coming up and you're not that busy, still hold yourself accountable to those times that you're putting in place, because when it does pick up, when you do have things that pop up, you get busy, you'll know how to kind of handle it in that situation. That also might be a little Alex Hormozy coming in there. But
So, kind of the budget, the way, like you said with the budget, a lot of people think budgeting, restricting money, things like that. So, in our personal finance, we set a monthly budget, say for your groceries or your, fun time, whatever you want. I used to look at it as restrictive, but then also you have to look at it as you're allowed to spend. So say you have a budget of, $400 of whatever. Don't look at it as restricting. That's what you're allowed to spend. And you can do that same with your time. So I'm allowing myself an hour to work on DRIPBaR. I know I worked on DRIPBaR for an hour. So then also my mindset is, some people go through their day and they don't really know how long they've worked on certain projects or spent time with their kids or whatever it may be. So then you feel like you constantly have to be working on something and being productive. But if I have it scheduled in my calendar, hey, I know I've put in 2-3 hours working on DRIPBaR. That's done. I know I've done it. So I can go home at night after I leave my full-time job knowing, hey, I have a 3-hour block. I don't need to work on anything because I put the time in. I've spent the time. I know I dedicated to it. Now it's kid time. So now I have 3 hours with the kids. I don't have to worry about, having my phone nearby not trying to be productive all throughout the day. And I think that's been hugely beneficial to me because I'm like you. Before I kind of figured out the time management thing, I would do a little task here, I'd do a task here, in between, and then I'd work my full-time job, and then I'd come home, and the kids would see me, and they're like, "Oh, Daddy's home from work," and I'm like, but in my head, I'm like, well, I have to post this here, and I have to work on this here, or payroll's due here, and then again, now you're not dedicating that full time to the kids, you're not being present, so it's kind of like that garbage time as well. So
and both things don't get the full attention,
exactly.
Right? You're kind of splitting a little bit to, like, if you're not, I catch and I'm trying to do it a lot more, especially with the windows that I get with being home with the hours that I work for my full-time job. That's something, the days I go there, that's really all I do that day. I wake up 4:05 in the morning. That extra 5 minutes is a huge difference.
Huge different game.
Like, I'm not waking up at 4:05 is the time.
Yeah.
And I get in there, do my thing there. I'm getting home by 7:30. And I'm like, all right, I got 30 minutes. I'm setting the phone down. I'm locking in here, right, with the family as much as I can. Because, it can be distracting, the phone and somebody's like, hey, I want to do that. Hey, can you do this? Hey, and I'm just like, it'll be there when I pick it up again. I want to lock in here, take that time, and then obviously the days that I'm not going in, getting home and like, okay, we got a couple hours now, and doing the same thing. Put it'll be there. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. They might not. And if it was something, I'll plan on it again, the fear of missing out. Somebody reaching out, oh, I need this. Realistically, it's not right away. It's not the same day. I'm not Amazon. I'm not coming out here same day delivery. So it's definitely something, a couple hours. So, and that's where it's like, it's good. Turn the brain off, focus on family, focus on kids, and then once that's good, everyone's in bed, hopefully sleep through the night. 2.5-year-old. Last night was rough. So it's very interesting, but then you can go back to it, and finding that balance is huge.
Well, I know one of the biggest things is turning off notifications on the phone. I only get notifications like, my wife, my mom, I think are two that can kind of break through, and no matter what, I can get a notification from them. But
Smart.
turning that off, I think early on, and I'm still dealing with it as an entrepreneur, it's hard to not have a scarcity mindset where there's only so many people that are going to come, partake in your business, be a customer. So you feel like you have to be accessible, and you have to be, anytime, anywhere. Someone messages you on Facebook, someone texts you, email, you want to be able to respond so quickly because, when they talk about businesses, it's all about that split second, that reaction time where someone wants to inquire information, and sometimes you need to jump on it and say, hey. And I've learned that it's not feasible. It's not good for me. So like you said, it'll be there, and I've limited myself, business hours are business hours. This is what it is. But it's not fair to the family, to the kids, things like that. Now, it's still a work in progress. I'm definitely not perfect. It's we sit at dinner. We have a thing where no phones at dinner, things like that. If I'm in the middle of a group chat or I'm working on something, we'll be sitting there, we'll be passing out dinner, and I'm, my wife's like, put it down. And, so it's still a work in progress, but I'm trying, and it's an everyday evolution. So
yeah, I jokingly, every time that I interact with somebody new within the business, I'm like, yep, here's my number. Reach me anytime. If I don't respond, it's probably because I'm dealing with something with the family.
Yeah.
Like, and that should be universal for, I'll get to when I get to
it.
And I'm not going to put it off. I have that same feeling, and I feel like I feel it a lot in the photography and videography field, because every post I see on Facebook, there's 30 comments of, oh, this business, that business. So in my mind, I'm like, I got to be first to answer. I got to be first to comment and put myself out there. And sometimes it's like, you know what? I don't need that. Like we're in a good spot. We're moving in the right direction. Like the stress of trying to find and be outbid and this and I can do it for that much. No, we have our network. I've done a lot of work the past year to build it that way. And just let it run its course. Now, I'm always taking it. More new business, bring it in. I'm not turning anybody away. But I think that, one, you'll enjoy the business a little bit more. You'll also enjoy the time working on the business. And then you'll be able to turn your brain off and enjoy the time. Like, its benefits all throughout, right? And I think that's the time management is big. The budgeting your time. I've always tried to figure out, that's a perfect way of explaining it. Is think of it on a monthly, weekly basis, and then also communication, right? That's Bree, she is very like, look, we have this schedule. This is what we're sticking to. She hates that sometimes I'm like, hey, I got a podcast I'm going to film this evening. But she understands, right? She's very supportive, but being, having the communication of like, hey, this is the goal, and I sometimes explain to her the why I'm doing this. And there's one video in particular that I was like, man, that was it. And it was somebody, I'm not going to name names. I don't want to, but it was around a fundraiser for somebody that was, had cancer. And it was one of those where they came on, they did their video, they talked about it, had a great fundraiser. Everything was smooth. And I was like, this is the why. Like helping people do what they need to do and putting it in a way that it can reach others and having that feeling of like, we're doing it. We're making a difference. And I can only imagine what it feels like when you have somebody coming in. Like, I wasn't able to function every day, and do everything. And now you're helping. Like, that's got to be the best feeling. And then, from an entrepreneur standpoint, is the freedom and things like that you have from it. That's another why as well. So, but back to your point is boundaries. I definitely am learning setting boundaries, and then not saying yes to everything. That's something that that's very tough. I'm learning as well. Because every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Is whatever book, or I'm sure there's tons of books and podcasts that say that stuff, but it is true. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes I think you can stretch yourself too thin. And you feel like you got to say yes to everybody. I'm going to do this event. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here and here. And you have to be very, very particular about who you spend your time with, who you say yes to. And guard your time, because it is precious and you only get so much of it. So you can have all the money in the world, but you're not going to buy an extra second.
And that's the thing, is also with me and my business partner, we both agree that one of the reasons we got into entrepreneurship is to have the freedom to potentially, if we wanted to scale back our full-time roles or whatever it may be, to be able to spend more time with family. Because that's, I have 4 kids ranging from 10 to 2, and they're growing up fast. And without them, they're a major why of what I'm doing. So to be sacrificing to build this and to miss out on these important years, it just doesn't make sense. So I constantly have to be reminding myself of that is, I have this, you're always looking for the destination. I want to get here. I have these goals and dreams. You got to enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. And then you have to.
I'm only laughing because Bree and I have that.
Yeah.
When we go somewhere, she's like, no, I want to get there. I'm like, and you got to enjoy the ride. You just got to. And it sometimes, because she is the on time. I'm going to be here a little early so I can walk in right when I need to. Yeah. I'm the dude running in the door 2 minutes late. Like, oh, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah. Like, and it drives her crazy, but it works. We work.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm always like, some part of the trip, part of the destination is the travel, is the trip.
Yeah. Cause if I miss out on things with the kids now to build this business and to the entrepreneur journey and things, I've completely missed the point and missed one of the major whys of doing what I'm doing. So I just constantly have to be reminding myself of that as well, is they're so important to this. And, hopefully down the road, years from now, if I've, businesses, whatever it may be, a legacy that I can leave for them, that's part of it as well. But if dad's not around and I'm not present now, what's it really matter? What's it for? So
that is one, I think a lot, both entrepreneurs, moms, dads, that's a tough one to fight with.
Oh yeah.
I get it a lot, especially when it's weird hours. I got, when I was shooting weddings a lot, it was a lot of weekends and spending, not getting home till 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And just like, the money, obviously the money's good and everything, but man, did I miss out on a lot. And it was one of those where it's a fight. Yeah. It's an internal conversation you have a lot. I think there needs to be a balance though. I think, you're setting yourself up to be able to a lot of those things down the road. And sometimes you do have to sacrifice, but you have to have a balance. You have to have a balance, especially, and that's why everyone, because we live in West Virginia and, people are like, oh, why wouldn't you set up shop there? And I'm like, well, because my wife works in Winchester. My daughter goes to daycare in Winchester. Yeah. I can run over there, pick her up on the way home. Yep. I can go over there and, they did a parade for Halloween. I ran over there, was able to see it. I was present. I was there. Yeah. We were at the tree lighting last night. We were there. So it's like, I'm right here. I want to be close and everything. But that balance is huge, right? Yeah.
Well, me and my wife have had conversations kind of, this is sacred. Like this is, regardless of what's going on, what we're doing, we make a point every, dinner. Like we want to have dinner together as a family, all of us sit down, because as the kids get older and things get busier, you see, people grabbing and going and all over the place.
Yeah,
but
you're non-negotiable.
Yeah, non-negotiable. Yeah, this is what we're doing. And I think me and my wife just kind of are hard-lined on that. And I think moving forward, hopefully we'll continue that because it's important. I want to be there. I want to be present. I want to be that father that my kids want to be around. But it's that hard balance because I'm very goal-oriented. I write down goals. I have things that I'm shooting for and professionally, whether it be physically training for something, things like that. And I think it's important just in life to be growing and constantly bettering yourself. But at the same time, how do you push that boundary and improve and be productive, but then also be present and step back and say, hey, I'm where my feet are. My kids are here. And, the other day I went upstairs, got on the ground, was playing Barbies with my 2 daughters. Like,
nice.
I'm not, nothing business related. I'm not moving the needle, but like that meant the world to them. And they're like, Dad, we loved you came up here and you played Barbies with us. Yeah. Sometimes, it is kids keep you grounded and keep you humble and keep that center focus. But I stop and I watch my 2-year-old just playing and just watching him play and the imagination and things like that. It's a big why of what I do. So
yeah, no, we Ellie has a little kitchenette
Mhm.
little thing. She's always like, "Do you want a cup of tea?" And I'm like, "I would love one."
Of
I know
course.
that cup is completely empty,
Yeah.
but that is the best cup of tea that I've
Yeah.
ever had.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I am 100% true.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know it,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's an empty cup.
Mhm.
But that little moment there is like,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely,
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
It's little things like that. You're like, yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
is why, and the goal is to set yourself up
Mhm.
to have more of those.
Yeah.
But with doing that, kind of bring it full circle, is
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to miss out on the ones now
Mhm.
for the future.
Yeah.
Keep that balance.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting, like, with the owning a business or running a business,
Mhm.
full-time job, and it gets very interesting.
Oh, yeah. Very, very interesting. Yeah. It's like I said, some days are better than others. And there's days that I go to bed and I think to myself that I was not the best father today and I was distracted and all over the place. And then there's days where I killed it as a dad, but I didn't check in on the business. I maybe was, lackluster at my full-time job, not my 100% effort. So you just kind of, take the good with the bad, and, you have to do kind of a check. And, I don't think you're ever going to have the perfect day. There's always something that you can look back
You're
on and
never
say,
going to be able to have 100% in all
Yeah.
three.
Yeah.
But as long as you are
Mhm.
giving it your best,
Yeah.
in all three, the
Yeah.
best you can,
Yeah.
I think that's what people.
Yeah,
That's what people need the
talk
most.
to as a mentor or somebody, and they, the simple fact that you're aware of it and you're asking the question, how can I be a business owner and be a better dad? The fact that you have the awareness and you're asking that question, you're already ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Because people that necessarily just go all in and aren't asking the question, aren't worried about it, maybe they're lacking the room to grow or improve. And, I think we're always, so sometimes our toughest critic.
It's ourselves.
So, yeah. So
I'll answer it. I'll say it.
We're
because-
toughest on ourselves. So there's days where I feel like, I didn't do a great job with the kids. And then my son will come up to me and be like, "Dad, I really enjoyed going outside and playing catch with you. And it was an awesome day." You're like,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was outside playing catch, thinking about all the things I needed to do for the business. I'm catching it, but I'm thinking about all these
Your
things.
mind is not
It's
in
elsewhere.
that
So I'm
moment. Yeah.
thinking I'm not present, but to him, it was a great day. So
That's seeing it from the kid's
Mhm.
perspective is really kind of helps. It's a little thing,
Mhm.
but to them, it's the coolest thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
Just Bree and I, my wife and I, were talking about just this afternoon. I was like, yeah, the days that I can pick her up, I am like, I'm picking her up.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to stop me from getting to the daycare before you, because I will pick her up.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we drive through the parking garage all the time. And she was like, what, is that why she's asking all the time? I was like, yeah. I was like, because we're driving, and she's like, let's go through the parking garage.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Let's go. Yeah.
I over dramatic with
Yeah.
the speed bumps, the ones
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
parking garage. They're massive. So it's like, I go through that. I'm like, make it a thing. And
Yeah.
she's laughing. I
Yeah.
mean, just losing her stuff. And I'm just like, for what? For an extra turn?
Mhm.
Like that's so totally
Yeah.
worth it to me.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, she loves it and she's happy. And it's those little things where it's like an extra 2 seconds.
Yeah. They definitely keep you humble and keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
From a child's perspective. So I'll never forget one time. This was before I was owned a business or anything like that. I, going through school and had these professional goals, and I got where I wanted to go as far as my radiology. And you have these conversations with their kids, and they know you go to work, and they know hey, mommy, daddy have to go to work so we can provide and have these nice things and do the things that we do. And just out of the blue, I asked my daughter one time, my 8-year-old, well, she was 6 at the time. I said, what do you think daddy does at work? Like, what do you think I do for 8 hours? And she looked at me right in the face. She said, you go to work and count candy bars. And I was like, okay, and so we have this tendency to get on our high horse and think, I'm this important person and I can do this and this, and I have this job. And then you talk to your kids and, no, they don't, they could care less. And that's another thing I've had to learn is, when I go to work and it's a stressful day at work or things with the business, when I come home, the kids don't know about all that. They could care less. They could care less. Yeah, they could care less about my day at work and this. So for me to show up in a bad mood or, grumpy or tired from the day, they just know dad's home and they want to play. That's all they care about. So there's been times I come home and I look at Emily and I'm like, hey, I just need a minute.
Yeah.
And I need a minute. And I go, no sound, no nothing, no distractions, just kind of decompress. And then it's almost like trying, switch it on to dad mode. We're full blown
Switch
dad
hats
mode.
at the
Let's
door.
go.
Yeah.
So you come out and it's playtime. My boys want to wrestle. The girls want to tell me about their day. And yeah, you got to make that transition. And it's sometimes it's hard, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So
yeah, no, it's my niece thinks my brother-in-law works at the sprinkle factory.
Oh, nice.
He
Yeah.
does not work at a sprinkle factory.
Yeah.
He's does nothing to do with sprinkles.
Yeah.
But I think for whatever reason, sprinkles were involved with him coming home from work one day. And it was one of those where I was like, that's just what they pick up on.
Yeah.
They just make that connection. They don't understand that it's not the right connection, but that's the connection.
Yeah.
But you're right. They don't understand that you just had a bad day or whatever.
Yeah.
They're just like, Dad's home.
Yeah.
Time to rock and roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's good. I love talking with other people in the same situation because it's one, you sometimes feel like you're in it yourself. You're the only one feeling this.
Yeah.
It's not you. You have others. I think there's a couple groups in the area, especially in Winchester, that have that you can join and just kind of talk, bounce stuff off of people. I think those are good.
Yeah.
Stuff like this, sit down and have a conversation, picking your brain and
Well, kind of a side note is my faith's important to me, and I kind of formed a small group at my local church just because I do think men in general, we kind of not suffer in isolation.
That was like perfect communication. I picked up on it.
Yeah. But we're not supposed to talk about the struggles and things that we have as far as being dads and provide, working and things like that. And I just want to provide something that we come together, and I kind of incorporate my passion for fitness. So we do like a little workout. We talk about things we're struggling with, and because I think it's important. Like you said, I think we get on our own little islands and we're like, man, like I'm struggling, and I'm the only one that feels this way. And you look around and, you get down that rabbit hole of social media and everybody looks like we're going on Disney vacations and everything's great and grand, and then you get lost in it and then you kind of get down on this dark rabbit hole. But I think it's good to get around others and talk about it and realize like, hey, we're all trying to get through this and figure this out. And sometimes I'm just figuring it out on the fly. So it's good.
That is something that I've kind of self-reflected a lot with, is feeling like I'm the only one in this situation. And I'm so naive.
Yeah.
That's not the case at all. And having conversation, that's kind of why, that's a little bit of the why behind the podcast is having the conversation. One, to kind of let people that are interested in entrepreneurship see different aspects and different businesses and how they started and their story. But I quickly, after the first couple, was like, okay, I'm selfish. This is for me. Like this, I'm able to talk to like-minded individuals and be like, we kind of have the same thought process. We ask what's the why, and all these different things. Yeah. And to be able to then take that and maybe pass it on to somebody that is looking to start entrepreneurship, whatever it is, from DRIPBaR to social media content creator, whatever you want to do. Yeah. I think having the resources, and this is not the biggest platform, but I always tell, if it hits one person and affects them in a positive way, the ROI is through the roof then. That's really, really what it's about. Yeah. No,
I'm so like, I think things I like to talk about, my family, my kids, my business. So I think, something like this kind of platform like this is amazing. I mean, I could sit here all day and just talk about this kind of stuff.
We're definitely getting there. No, it's good. And I'll kind of go right into our next topic we were thinking about talking about is DRIPBaR is not the only entrepreneurship idea you got going on. We won't let too much out of the bag. I know you're still working on stuff, but
so we have Drip and it's doing well. And things are progressing and we're growing, and I'm super happy about where we are. And me and my wife kind of sit down, talk, and we have a partnership with Drip, and we were kind of like, hey, what's next? Where do we want to take this? And we kind of settled on a home service based business that we're going to be buying into. We bought into the franchise, It's Voda Cleaning and Restoration. So my wife is going to be pretty much heading that. She's going to be the face of it. So that's a little, not necessarily smaller scale, but we won't have a brick and mortar store. It'll just be going into homes and, cleaning, restoring, another avenue, way to help people. So I wanted to, and me and my wife both agreed, we want to kind of step back and do something outside of our comfort zone. As far as outside of healthcare, DRIP was very much aligned with this is what we know, this is what we can do. And then, but still help people. And when we talked to the franchise there, they were like, hey, you're in the business of providing a great service to clients because you're restoring their biggest asset they have, and that's their home. So we went and did a visit and we're sold. So we're going to be kind of going down that avenue as well. So I'm still maintaining my full-time. We'll have DRIPBaR, and then, like I said, my wife is going to be stepping away a little bit from her role potentially, and then running Voda for us as well. So
it's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a lot. And then the 4 kids. So, but they're super excited. They're along for the journey, and that's another thing with kids is involve them as much as we can. They enjoy. I got videos of them. We moved into the space at DRIPBaR, them like crushing up boxes and running around the space. And they still, on Tuesdays when we close and we go in and we clean up a little bit, and I have to clean up the cold plunge and things. They love running around, and we have an Alexa in there and they blast some music and stuff. And we showed them the van that we're getting, and they're constantly questioning. We're not trying to hide anything from them, just try to involve them as much as possible.
And that's, I think that's, the right way of doing it, because hopefully down the road they get interested in a sense of wanting to see it grow as well. Yeah. That's exciting. That's another business.
Another business.
Yeah. I see that's the trend with entrepreneurs. Do not say that's trending around it.
Oh yeah.
No, I've always thought about, other ways. I guess the cool thing about kind of Hustle Productions is, we have, you could kind of argue the podcast studio. Again, if you're interested in starting your own podcast, you can read that. It's kind of like it's a business within the business, right? It's definitely something that's going to be running, it's not our main drive, but I want to be able to give people the opportunity to do this. Yeah. But that mindset of like, okay, what's next? How are we going to keep this going? Yeah. It's a part of that itch that you get as an entrepreneur. Yeah. So it's home restaurant. So it's cleaning services, restaurant. So we don't have to go. One, it kind of sets up a part 2. Yeah, part 2. To sit down and talk more, especially when it sounds like you're still trying to put pieces together.
Yeah. So we're in the early stages right now. We put the deposit in. Our van will be delivered. My wife is currently going through all the training that she needs, all the certifications for it. And then we're in the process of hiring, but we're looking probably February, March. But we're going to offer services such as carpet cleaning, upholstery cleaning, tiling grout, odor removal, duct cleaning, and then everything to the restoration side. So flood damage, water damage, mold, and fire as well. So we'll have it's a ProMaster truck and have equipped with everything that we need in the truck. And then we're going to hire a kind of a general manager, operations manager, lead tech that'll do majority of the work. And then, like I said, my wife, she's going to be the majority owner and be going around and networking and working with clients and things like that. So
marketing.
Yeah, doing the whole thing. So
it sounds like we need to have her come in here and sit down on an episode.
So maybe the next time, bring the wife and she'll be able to speak more to it, because she's already taken one certification class. So now she's officially a water restoration technician. So she's on her way. So it's exciting.
Just go to the next. And the next.
But it's very cool. Obviously I enjoyed the partnership, and I think having the partnership for the first jump into entrepreneurship gave me the confidence, decreased the risk a little bit, knowing, hey, I have a partner in this with, from a financial standpoint, and then going in on it, being able to divvy up the duties. And now going into a home-based service, not as much, like I said, with the build out and things like that, a little easier to get up and get running. Yeah. And just me and my wife. It's exciting. And then it's exciting that my wife has really taken on a big ownership role of it. She's excited about it. And, of course, I see how great she is, but empowering her to go out and network and to do these things that I did majority of for DRIP. She was kind of working more behind the scenes, and now being able to work behind the snes and just us two, and then, just empowering her. Like, I think, just being like, you're great at this stuff. Like you look good when you get on in front of a camera and you shoot a video, and we post it on social media for DRIPBaR, doing these things. And she's great with people. She's a nurse. She enjoys talking to people, diving in and getting their story. It's funny, when she works at DRIP, she says she gets behind because she gets so busy talking to clients and she likes hearing about their story. So I think it's going to be a great role for her, and to see her, I'm pushing her a little bit, like getting her out of her comfort zone, but it's exciting for us. So yeah. So.
No, that's definitely, it is exciting. Mm-hmm. It's one of those where I think with entrepreneurship, you kind of get into that groove, mm-hmm. And you learn from the first one and go right into the next one and kind of develop it. And it is nice to kind of have that partner in crime, mm-hmm. where you're like, all right, it's not just, and everybody, I don't say that in a sense of, one man show. 'Cause my wife might not be sitting here behind the camera, but there's a lot that goes on that it's like, all right, it's given me the avenue to be able to, but to see the growth, mm-hmm. and like going from, I don't know if we should do this, to now you're at that second business and it's going, that's got to be really exciting.
Yeah. No, it's very exciting. And we joke because I think we're a good combo. I'm very much I'm a dreamer, like pie in the sky, like, hey, let's take it as big as we can. Let's go.
Yeah.
And she's definitely,
what could go wrong?
Yeah. And she's the devil's advocate. So she comes in and is like, well, Tyler, have you thought about this, this, and this? And there's times where I'm like, don't come in here with that. Like that negativity. I don't want that negativity. Yeah. Like, I have a goal, I have a dream. Like, this is going to be huge. Like, don't bring me down, but it's good because we check and balance. Like, she comes in and says, that's great. We can get there, but let's look at the processes and how we're going to get there. Like, I have this vision in my head and how it's going to go. And she brings me down to earth and is like, okay, we need a plan and how we're going to get there. So it's definitely a good balance. So
coordinated push.
So not just
throwing it up against
but at the same time, I push her because I know what we have the potential to get to. And she's kind of very more conservative and hesitant. And it's a slight little nudge.
It goes very well together because if you were both like the crazy, let's just go crazy. Yeah. It gets a little dangerous.
Yes.
But if you both were then you probably wouldn't have gotten into entrepreneurship to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like that combo, kind of plays well with each other.
Yeah. So yeah. No, awesome. I always know if I can convince her that it's a good idea or she buys into it, it's going to be okay. Yeah. Because there's times where I come home and you have these crazy ideas and you throw them out there and in your head, you're like, this is amazing. And then she's like, well, this, and this. And then like we go down and we work through it. And like at the end, you're like, okay, all right, you're right. Then maybe we shouldn't do this. But then, with the VODA, like, and even DRIP, like took her there. We went and saw the actual corporate store. She saw it, met with everybody, saw the process. And she was like, okay, like I think this could be really good. I'm like, all right, now we're talking. So,
now we're in business, literally.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's exciting.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm not going to take too much more of your time. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear it on camera, but my stomach is rumbling. It's dinner time.
Sure.
But I really, I really appreciate you coming and sitting down and talking. We definitely need to run it back, part 2.
Yeah.
Once everything kind of gets, the dust settles, we'll say mid-March, hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, right?
Fingers crossed, hopefully.
Yeah. And talk and see, maybe we'll compare what, how was the first time starting a business compared to the second.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. So like I said earlier, we'll have everything linked below, all your information, DRIPBaR, everything. We'll touch base after everything ends.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you having me. Like I said, I enjoy talking about this and it's a learning experience. Like I said, it's another entrepreneur, like bouncing off ideas. And I just want to be a sponge, try to absorb as much as I can because I pick up something from everybody I talk to that's in the space. And sometimes it's something simple and you're like, never really thought of it that way. So I really appreciate
that. There's a podcast space right here for anybody that needs
shoot some content.
Right, I am going to stop plugging my own.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
it's just because this is the second episode I've done in the space, so it's still relatively new. Yeah. No. But it's exciting, and talking with like-minded entrepreneurs, it's that new exciting thing where you're like, should I put all my money into not all the money, but I did a good job of building that nest egg. Everyone, entrepreneur nest egg. Of, and I was like, all right, well, I think this is good. I've talked to a couple people. I did a little bit of research, and I was like, I'm really going to kind of let's give it the old college try, see what happens.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where you're like, I don't know. You kind of have those internal thoughts of, should I? And, I officially talked about it on social media about a week ago and had a lot of people like, this is great. I want more information. So that initial push, I was like, all right, this makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. No,
talking about it, I think is one of those where if Bree heard podcast space one more time, she's probably gonna be like, I can tell you where to put the podcast.
Yeah. No, it's a great space. Yeah. No, I think just our human nature, we want to have all the answers.
Yeah.
And like we want to know how this is going to go, how it's going to play out. And
where's the crystal ball? I thought we get a crystal ball.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things you have to do is, especially as an entrepreneur, is gather as much information as you can, talk to as many people as you can, and then eventually you just gotta pull the trigger and go with it. Like just trust your gut and
see what happens.
Yeah, I mean nothing's 100%, but you can't.
But I'd like to argue if you do your research, you put your time and effort into it the right way.
Yeah.
You could stumble a little bit, but you'll get there eventually.
Oh, yeah. Just keep
not to drive anybody away from entrepreneurship.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no. I mean, as of right now, so far, I would 100% tell anybody to go into it. If you believe in yourself and you have the confidence and you think that you have that don't quit attitude and you're passionate about something and you feel like you can provide that value to the world, I'd say I'd go for it. And you got to take the ups and the downs, and there's gonna be times you get knocked down and you're like, man, what else am I gonna do? And then you got to figure it out. Yeah. And I would definitely recommend it to anybody, but yeah.
Well, all right. You heard it here. Tyler told you, go start your business right now.
Yeah, definitely go do it.
And if you need marketing or, you need something to keep you, energized and hydrated and know where to go.
Come see us at the DRIPBaR Winchester. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks.